CNIB logo on screen. CNIB, Seeing Beyond Vision Loss. Advocacy 101 Training. Presented by Mike McCarthy, Principal at Grosso McCarthy. Part 1 of 2. What is advocacy?
We're going to talk a little now about what is advocacy, and then we're going to get into the toolbox. And so I kind of picked this out of, I think it was Wikipedia, I think. Advocacy is an activity by an individual or a group which aims to influence decisions within a political, economic, and social systems and institutions. And so advocacy can actually happen anywhere. It doesn't have to happen at the top. It can happen at the bottom for local issues. Advocacy, first and foremost, and again, this is it's subjective in terms of my experience. It's about building relationships. It's about telling your story. It's about if you develop a relationship with a decision maker, it's harder for them to say no if they know you. It's harder for them to deny help to you if they know you as a person. And then they can personalize your issue, and it's compelling. So it's important that as you move forward and as you continue your journey in advocacy, that it's always about building that relationship to support your goals. And I firmly believe, while there's some cases where you got to go from the top down, that's usually in a strategic effort where these are big issues. Advocacy really starts from the bottom up. It starts from the grassroots. It really starts when you've joined the CNIB to find out, what you could do to better your life. That's the grassroots. You get to meet like-minded people around you. You get to understand the art of the potential of what CNIB brings to the table to support your goals and to facilitate efforts to move those opportunities forward. And so when we talk about advocacy, those skills aren't just for problems. Advocacy are for opportunities for your organization, such as fundraising, such as education. It isn't all about problems. Advocacy takes many shapes and forms. This I call the advocacy toolbox, and these are the Cole's notes in terms of what you need to move forward in your opportunity to build those relationships with key stakeholders and decision makers, both in government and those that influence government. And it's about crafting key messages to begin with, because sometimes, and this goes to the media as well, people don't have a lot of time to hear your problems or your concerns or what you're advocating for. So you have to be precise. And so it's important to arm yourself by reaching into the toolbox and crafting key messages. And it's important to be consistent. And when you're doing team efforts in terms of broadening out your advocacy to other members in your community, it's important that they know what your key messages are so everybody's consistent in terms of the message that needs to be brought forward to decision makers. A call plan development. Okay, that sounds a little weird, but it really isn't. A call plan is really identifying the people that you want to go see, and it's about identifying influencers to help you obtain your goal. So what we generally do is, okay, we'll look at the particular issue, and we'll look at who carries the file, both in the bureaucracy and in government. And both, depending on the issue, whether it's at the municipal level or the provincial level or the federal level, or maybe both, or maybe all three, what you have to do is identify to the people that are going to make an actual difference when you go talk to them about your issue and you give them the key messages. And so it's important to be precise as possible. It's not all in government. It may be influencers outside of government. They could be important people that would support your goals, and so they need to be on the list. And it needs to be coordinated amongst your team if it's a collective effort. It is who's going to talk to who, so you're not tripping over each other, and so that you know that you can have a systemic plan in place of who you go see about your issues. A little bit about social media. It's relatively new. It's important because, as we've seen in the federal election, it actually influenced the outcome of who became the new government in Canada. So it helps you compete with the government. Social media is not a friend of government as a rule, because advocates can collect through the internet instead of actually physically being in a building. So you have the ability to spread out your key messages, to garner support on the ground through social media and use it as a tool, and it makes you look bigger. And so you have an ability to launch campaigns, use social media as part of your arsenal of tools to take forward your advocacy efforts. And so that's really important that we look at new ways of communicating out. A leave behind document. Well, okay, we get meetings with important people in government and the bureaucracy. What do we do? So it's important that you bring forward a leave behind document to educate decision makers on your issue. It's as simple as that. But it's also important that that leave behind document isn't like the Bible. It's got to be 1 or 2 pages maximum. I try to keep it to 1, shrink the type size if you have to, but keep it to a bare minimum, because decision makers, the reality is they don't have time to read your stuff. So it's important, because what happens when you meet the politician and you give them your issue and you put it on paper, if it's too long, they always give it to the bureaucracy to decide what to do with your issue. And nobody has time to read multiple pages at once. Somebody in policy and in the back corner of government may look at the granular, but it's important that your leave behind document is to the point, factual, not emotional, but it must include, and we're going to get to that in the next thing, your ask. So when I was in government, there was never an easier meeting with stakeholders when somebody was so happy, or an organization was so happy to come and see you because they got a meeting with somebody who represents the Minister of Health, that they didn't ask for anything. They told us their issue, didn't leave behind a document, and didn't ask for next steps or how to deal with their problem. They went away feeling good that they got a meeting, and we went away in government going, well, that was easy, I'd like more of that. And instead, what you need to do is ensure that you have a definitive ask and purpose of the meeting. And what it allows to do is it allows that conversation and that relationship to continue on, because now they have an ask that they have to follow up on, and they have to respond to you related to your request. And so that allows you to continue to garner that relationship, understand what the response is in terms of what they give you back on your ask, so that you can formulate next steps.
End of video, part 1.